Okay, in this video for section 2.1, we're going to talk about getting information from our graphs. And this is going to be things like function values, intercepts, domain and range, things of that nature. So the first one that we're going to look at, and so we're going to look at this on the screen up here, is so it says use the graph to find f of 5. Now, what you're going to do here is you are going to come over here to where x is 5, and then you're going to go up the graph until you find this point right here, okay? And so we can see that when f is 5, we have an answer, okay, of 400, okay? Now, the second question that they ask is the one that we have over here on the right. It says, for what value of x is x 100? So what we're going to have to do is we've got right here at 100, we're going to follow that line all the way across. And normally there would be a little bit better graph here, but you're going to wind up right here at about this point. So we're going to say when x is 9, okay? So that's one of the ways. Now we are going to take a look at a couple of other graphs as we go through. And I'll probably go ahead and use the next one up because I'll be able to graph it better on our separate grid space here, okay? So I'll do another couple of valuing things here as we go. So I'm just going to get this graph redone. Okay. So now then, for this one, so I've already brought this up to here. This is that exact same graph picture that we just had, slightly better. Now, for example, just going back to that how to find function values, if I wanted to find, say, f of -2, I would come over here to -2 and I would look for what is its value, okay? So this would actually be 0, okay? And then if I wanted to know for what x I had f of x was equal to 3, I would come up here to 3 as a y value, come across, and it's this point. So that happens when x equals 1, okay, for that one. Now, for this particular one, they do want us to talk about the domain and the range. So now, with domain, that was our x's. X's run along this axis, which runs from left to right. So when we talk about domain, we're going to start at how far to the left does my graph begin and how far to the right does it go. So for our domain, the left edge of my graph is going to be right here at -2. That is a solid dot on the graph, so that means it is included, so therefore I need to use that squared off bracket right there. Now, following my graph goes all the way over here to 1, okay? So this graph is going to go to 1, and then that's also a solid dot up there, so we're going to use that bracket again for that notation. Now, for our range is going to be from low to high. So when we talk about domain and range, we're always going to start with an L word. So either left to right in that domain or low to high in the range. So low is right here. This is at 0. We do again have that solid dot down there, so that it's going to be a square bracket on that edge. And then I get as high as up here at 3. Okay. That's also a solid dot. Now, I have seen some people do what's called windowing, which is where they basically kind of cut off to where they can see, you know, how low, how high. And then they also will window off right and left so that they can kind of visually see what's going on with that graph picture there, okay? So now the next example that we have coming up, and I'm going to graph this one or grid this one as well here for us. Okay, so we've got opens up here, and then we have something there. Okay. So again, they ask us to find the domain and the range. So our domain, again, working left to right, is left side is over here at -2. Now, that open dot says that that actual end is not included. So we're going to use a set of parentheses for that to show that that value is actually not used in the graph. Over here on this side, I am going to 1. I do have that solid dot right there. So I'm going to have a squared off bracket. Now, for our range, again, we work low to high. My low side is down here. Okay. So my low side is at -1. That is on that solid dot, so that's going to be a bracket on that side. My high side is up here at 2, and that is a parenthesis on that side. Okay, so make sure that you are always working from left to right on those domains and from low to high on those ranges. Okay, now for this last grid space that we're going to work with, okay, okay, let's see if I can get this. We've got something that looks kind of like this. Okay. Okay, so for this one, they want us to identify the X and the Y intercepts. Okay, so we're going to do X intercepts. Now, the X intercepts are where we cross the X axis. So in this case, I've got this one, and this one. So I've got 3. And we're going to write them just in their ordered pair format. So we've got -3, 0. I've got -1, 0. And I've got 2, 0. So there's my X intercepts. I'll get that out of that blur for us. Now, for our Y intercept, on this graph, I've only got 1. It's right down here. And that's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -6. So I'm at 0, -6. Now, wasn't asked for on this one, but if I was going to talk about domain and range. Now, first off, guys, with this one, it did kind of give the indication that the graph kept going off of the grid space. So my domain for this one would be that this graph does keep expanding because this thing is going to keep arcing or kind of moving up and out and over this direction. And this side is also kind of keeping going this way. So it actually continually goes, it doesn't have a left-hand side that it stops at. So it's going to go from -infinity, and same game on the right. Okay, so it actually runs from -infinity to infinity. And for a range, it doesn't quit going down because of that lower side, and it doesn't stop going up. So I actually have a domain and a range of all real numbers. So you are not restricted to it has to end at particular values, okay? So we've got X-intercepts are where we hit the X-axis, Y-intercepts are where we hit the Y-axis. And again, if it appears as though a graph is going off the graph, it probably is. Sometimes you will also see them put little arrows on those graphs to indicate that they keep going those directions.